We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 86 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're gonna get kicked out of being number 2, you're gonna go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're gonna get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Testing, 1, 2. I think we are live. And I believe everybody is present and accounted for. Thanks for tuning in this evening to Dirty Laundry Media. If you can't hear me, you can tap in the private chat in the back. But I see all my guests in the back room waiting, and I'm not going to keep us long. We're going to get right into it. But the topic of discussion is tonight is going to be, is there a viable strategy in Black people which has historically been a captured electorate for the Democrats, is it a viable strategy to cross the aisle, so to speak, finding some issues that impact our communities directly? And is there a way that we can reach across the aisle for some support on those issues? And I brought this panel tonight because I respect each person here in their perspectives, their intellect, their passion. I have Sister Angela Nirvana from the Reparationist perspective. Check her out on YouTube, on Twitter, and I believe she may be on Facebook, but we'll find that out. My brother Jeff Charles, who I don't know that well. We had a brief interaction on Angela Stanton King's podcast a few weeks back, and he struck me as a very smart and intellectually flexible, and thought it would be great to have him as part of the discussion. And Greg Marcel Dixon, and I love this brother here for his courage and for his determination, his willingness to stand up to the Democratic Party, which has for so long taken the Black vote, not only taken us for granted, but they've put us behind. They've actually hurt us. And we like to use the term benign neglect, but I like to call it, malicious indifference, because some of the policies that they have backed, while in the same token claiming to be our friends. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring everybody onto the stream. Sister Angela, Brother Dixon, and Brother Jeff Charles. Jeff on the right, I believe, on Twitter. And you can catch Brother Dixon. And I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves, and you can shout the social media out. So we can start with you, Sister Angela.
Hi, thank you so much, Bill Money, for having me on as a guest amongst such an esteemed panel. I'm Angela Nirvana, one of the many co-founders of the Contemporary Reparations grassroots movement and creator of the Reparationist Perspective channel. You can definitely find me on ScrewTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I have a Freedmen protest voter strategy that I am just elated is catching a fire in such a way that I'm now a guest on your channel. So thank you, Bill Money, for having me.
Absolutely. And I've been a fan, Sister Angela. Very familiar with you. We come from the same background as far as the ADOS platform. I was rocking with Yvette Carnell from, I think she was still with Dr. Boyce.
Me too.
So I've been able to pretty much, absolutely, the whole,
wow.
I've watched the whole arc pretty much take place, and still standing by, and supporting and watching as well. And I appreciate your work.
That's how we found each other, right?
Absolutely.
So I will never disparage the former ADOS movement. That
absolutely.
It put me in direct alignment with my tribe, and I'm forever grateful to Breaking Brown for bringing me together with my tribe.
I'm in absolute agreement with you. And go ahead, Brother Jeff, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Charles. I'm a journalist, political commentator, podcaster, writer. I contribute to sites redstate.com, libertynation.com, and also Newsweek Opinion. Been doing this for about 5 years or so. On Twitter, I'm at Jeff on the right, and I'm looking forward to this discussion, not just participating, but also learning from the rest of y'all too. This is a very interesting topic, one that I kind of talk about a lot when it comes to how the Black vote goes, what Republicans can do better to appeal to the Black voter. So I think this will be fun.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, Brother Greg Marcel Dixon. I think you're on mute. Do I have you on mute? Here you go.
Hello, everyone. Greg Marcel Dixon here. I am an educator by trade and a current candidate for South Carolina's 6th Congressional District, and I'm happy to be here.
And thank you all for being here as well. Thank you guys for blessing me on my small, humble channel. You know, I don't take it lightly, and just want to let you all know that I appreciate your time and what you bring to the table in your respective areas. And just to give a little background, I don't want to be too long, but this is just to give some context. And if you see on my channel, since I really started uploading content probably in 2019, you know, I've been a critic of the Democratic Party because that's the party that has been holding my vote. And, you know, around 2012, I began to see things a little differently with our first, you know, so-called Black President, Barack Obama. And, you know, that began, I guess that would begin for me, you know, my journey to seek the truth and to, you know, just be a viable political, you know, just to be viable in the political arena, and for me and myself and for my people as well. And so I began, you know, with the premise of Black people voting Republican. As Jeff knows, I've kind of put it on the table when we were on the Ash show. Black people voting Republican in numbers simply as a strategy to send a message to the Democratic Party. You know, like I say, for decades of benign neglect and malicious policies, which have put the Black community in a constant state of precariousness. The Black community is in a collapsed state, and only policies specifically designed to collectively lift the Black community can begin to reverse this decline. So as a strategy to bring the Democrats around to this way of thinking, I propose that the Black vote swing to the right in some numbers to wake up the left, and that we can no longer passively relinquish our votes with no exchange of with no exchange of tangibles, concessions, specific policies and programs backed by sufficient resources to be effective. Now, recently in the Twitter space hosted by Brother Greg and Sister Angela, the idea was talked about that the Black electorate in essence should weaponize our votes around an issue critical to reversing the decline of our communities. And those issues were immigration and border control. And this would involve backing candidates who run on a strong anti-immigration and border security platform, even if they are Republican. And what I wanted to do with this, you know, I wanted Sister Angela to kind of set it off because she's in California, and I kind of call that ground zero.
It is.
For the illegal immigrant invasion. You know, we have several border states, but California, they say, is virtually Mexico
Pretty much.
to some degree. So I just wanted you to paint the picture, you know, the facts on the ground. How does it look? And what have been the effects? You know, so to speak, what you did in the space. Let us know what is possibly to come to a city or town near us. Because people outside of the border states don't really, you know, get a great grasp of what's going on. So I just want you to do what you do and let us know what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, here in California, we have gone from 17% of the population to around 3%. To date, the undocumented illegal immigrants outnumber us by 300,000. We have about 2.6 million total Blacks. Of that 2.6 million, 2 million is U.S. Black, as they call us here. I call us American Freedmen. And right now, as a sanctuary state, which you're going to find is evident in most democratically ran cities throughout the country, They have turned our particular communities into sanctuary cities. And they are literally weaponizing the American freedmen vote to erase and replace us. And so, as California goes, so goes the nation. And so, with the help of Greg Marcel Dixon in a 5-hour space we held in Twitter, you can also find that archived on the Reparationist Perspective. I shared that this is coming to a city near you because Gavin Newsom has his sights on running for president while grifting off of reparations. And I want you to understand, for those of you who saw a little bit of the racism recorded within the halls of the LA City Council, that that's a modicum of what we experience under the terrorism of Crayola white supremacy. That's what I call it. It's Crayola white supremacy. The Asians, the Latinas, the white folks, naturally, the East Indian Brahmin caste, Kamala's people, they are working with our votes to erase and replace us. So what they've got folks focused on is the anti-Freedmen racist sentiment that was caught on tape by the now defunct Nuri Martinez. But the truth of the matter is, it is through every branch of government, from your cities to your counties, to your states, to the feds. So the Demorats are using us as a resource to erase and replace us. The bigger thing, greater than the racism that you heard espoused, the anti-Freedmen racist sentiment that was espoused, is the fact that these Latinas have managed to illegally redistrict LA to keep Freedmen council members out of the council. They have literally disempowered U.S. Black American freedmen Los Angelenos. And it is their intent to take it completely over. And I want to share with you the sentiment of Efrain Rojas, who pretty much encapsulated what I've been sounding the alarm since 2019 about the intent of the Latinas. It is not to form a Black and brown coalition. That's the charade, you see. That's what they speak of, in terms of getting us distracted. You're sitting up here fighting harder for their children whom they illegally send across the border so they could tether themselves to those children and get into the country. And so they've got free people crying and belly aching over their children louder than our children that are being set up for the preschool to prison pipeline for the not so new slavery that we've been suffering. So I don't want to be long because I know this is an exchange, but I need you to understand that if you do not weaponize this vote and socialize this suffering, if you continue in this vein of no tangibles, no vote, as if you've got something coming, as you can already see, this man won't even give us reparations, nor protections, nor an end to qualified immunity. If you don't turn out to these polls in Obama-style numbers and launch a missile back to the Demorats, you will leave the fate of our lineage in the hands of immigrants who seek to replace us and Crayola white supremacy who seek to erase us. let me share with you what Ephraim said, and maybe you'll hear it from him since you have a hard time stomaching it from me. Not the people that rock with me. I mean folks that throw rocks at me. Ephraim wrote, I found your channel on YouTube, and I want to share some insights on the Black-Brown Alliance charade. Even he recognizes it's a charade. We Latinas are 50% of Los Angeles and will soon be a clear majority in California if we aren't already. You should be very concerned about this because we are not going to give up the special consideration for disenfranchised minorities. We will be the overwhelming majority, and we will assume for ourselves priority in government jobs. It's already happening. Government contracts, it's already happening. Subsidized housing, it's already happening. College admissions, it's already happening, etc. All the Black leaders in the Democratic Party have sold Black America out. You have voted for your own erasure. This is from Ephraim Rojas. Now, I've been telling you this since we were recklessly told the last election cycle to vote for this. Yes, we were told to vote dim down ballot. And now you're recklessly being told to withhold your vote while 46.2 million legal immigrants, I don't know what percentage will show to the polls. I don't give a damn who shows to the polls and who don't. Our responsibility is Freedmen. We can't sit up here and pull out our calculators and guesstimate about who might show to the polls, who might not, and trying to do this old-fashioned withhold the vote strategy that only works when we are the draw. I'm telling you, the Demorats, who we've been voting for since FDR, has neutralized us economically, and now they're coming for our vote. And once that vote is taken from us, it's a wrap for Freedmen. I'll land there. Thank you for allowing me to share.
I'm sorry I was muted. Thanks for that, Angela. And you'll definitely get a chance to chime back in. And shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm reading through your comments, and it seems like many people are conscious and aware, of our situation and the need to make some changes, to our politics. So with that, and I see people also saying that some of these conditions are already coming to their cities and towns. Northern Kentucky, Washington, D.C. We know New York City. It might be the whole state. I'm a New York native, but I've been living in Atlanta, Georgia for just under 30 years. So my perspective is different now. And it began to change, like I said, around 2012. I had a daughter in middle school out here in Clayton County in Georgia. Large Hispanic or Latino population. So every time I went to the school, award ceremonies and functions and things, I would see, the massive numbers of Latino children escorting their parents around, many of whom didn't speak English. So, my antennas began to go up, and then I started looking into the amount of the amount of resources that were being put, to the Latino children to teach them language, teach them English, so forth and so on. So I began to look at it like, wait a minute, is my child being neglected? And when I seen how it was possibly affecting my child, that's when I began to get angry, so to speak. So, with that in mind, so I want to go to Brother Jeff because he started out with what I wanted to ask him anyway. He's right on it. The Republican opportunities for Black outreach, for one. You could speak to that. And number two, the image problem of the Republican Party as it stands within the Black community. What can be done to change that image? You know, how could they make it a little more palatable for Black people to pull that trigger, you know, even for issues that patently affect our communities? And I'll let you go ahead and get busy on that. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. And but before I answer that, I want to kind of piggyback off of what Angela was talking about, though, because she made a lot of great points. And I was born and raised in Southern California, and now I'm in Texas. So I spent most of my life living in border states. And what she's saying is absolutely correct. And I'm sure it's even gotten worse since I left California about 10 years ago now. But it's even an issue at the local level, because like in cities like New York City and others, they're trying to give immigrants, legal and otherwise probably, the right to vote in local elections. And in New York City, there are lawsuits being lawsuits being filed against this proposition because it would dilute the voting power of Black Americans living in those communities. When you start letting immigrants from South and Central America vote in local election, now they have a lot more power to dictate how their city is governed at the expense of the Black residents living there. So I think it's abundantly clear on this immigration issue and others that the Democrats just don't care. They don't care about Black people because really they don't have to. Well, why would they care if they know they're going to get 90% of our votes no matter what they do? And it literally is that. They know they can do whatever they want and they'll still get the votes because of how ingrained this has become. When it comes to the Republican Party, there are opportunities. There have been opportunities. And, you know, I won't go into all the history, but the issue is that it took Republicans a long time to get here to where Republicans only get about 10% of the Black vote. But now you have a lot of Black people becoming disillusioned with the Democratic Party, especially Black men. And you can see it in the polling in this current election cycle for the upcoming congressional elections. Black people are either going to stay home or a lot of them are becoming more willing to support Republican candidates. Now, the issue on the Republican side, there are some things that they're finally starting to do right. And I am cautiously optimistic that they're going to start taking our votes seriously, mainly because they have to survive. I mean, if they continue only appealing to white Americans, they're going to be irrelevant in just a few decades because of the way our demographics are changing. All the minority populations are expected to increase, even Black Americans. So what Republicans have to do, because there is that image, right? I would say most Black people think that Republicans are racist. And on the right, what I have to contend with a lot of times is people on the right will say, oh, that's just because they've been brainwashed by the media or by their leaders or what have you. No, the problem is that Republicans haven't been showing up for 6 decades. That's the problem. Because if you're actually interacting with Black people face to face and you're engaging, it's not going to matter if somebody calls you a racist. If they know that you're not racist, CNN isn't going to be able to convince them that you are. And there have been few instances where we have seen this. Republicans think that they can't win over Black voters. That's not true. All throughout history, even after, you know, under Goldwater, the party moved away from reaching out to Black voters, the candidates who actually tried, and I don't mean just showing up around election time, when they actually tried, they increased their Black support. Now Republicans have more obstacles to go against because of the neglect. So that has allowed this perception to build up. And I'm not saying there aren't racists on the right, because there are, but there are racists on the left too, as evidenced by that LA City Council meeting. Both parties are going to have people in it who just don't mess with us, right? That's just a fact. But most people are not racist. So what the Republican Party needs to do, and what the conservative movement needs to do, is stop talking about Black people and start talking to Black people face to face, not from a distance, not just digitally, going into the neighborhoods. The example that I always give, you guys might be familiar with Governor Mike Huckabee. He was a governor of Arkansas in the 90s. And I got to interview him on my show because what a lot of people don't know is that when he ran for governor, because he was actually he actually took over when the first governor had to step down. So he was governor for like a year or two, and then he had to run to actually get elected. When he ran, he got 49% of the black vote. A white Republican in Arkansas got almost 50% of the black vote. And when I interviewed him, I just wanted to, I already knew how he did it, even without him telling me, because it's common sense. The stuff is not rocket science, right? So I asked him, how'd you do it? And he's just straight up said, I said, how'd you get the 50% of the black vote? He said, I asked for it. I mean, and that's not all he did. He was going into black neighborhoods and breaking bread with and meeting with black leaders, pastors, members of the church, coaches, all kinds of people that were leaders at the local level. And they weren't all receptive to him. Maybe he told me a story about how he had to be snuck out the back of a black church because some people showed up who didn't like him, but he kept at it and he didn't wait until election time. As a matter of fact, he criticized Republicans for doing that because he said that is an insult to black voters. You got to show up, you got to listen to what black people are saying, what their concerns are, and then you got to come with some solutions to that. But I guarantee you people called him racist all throughout that campaign. But he got 50% of the black vote because he actually tried. The issue with the Republican National Committee, the RNC, is that the leadership has been inept when it's come to reaching out to non-white voters. And they haven't really even wanted to. Mike Huckabee told me that in the, I don't know if it was 2010, 2011, around then, he actually went to the Republican Party and said, hey, you guys need to start reaching out to black voters. I know how to do it because I actually won 50% in Arkansas, and they blew him off. So that's been the issue. The establishment GOP has not really wanted to take this issue seriously. And I'm seeing signs now that there are people who do, but there are people who still want to just do things like business as usual. So I think the people who actually want to reach out to black voters need to win that battle on the right. And I'm starting to see some of that happening, but there is still pushback. I mean, you still got conservative media pushing people who do more to reaffirm that stereotype and to push black voters away rather than attracting them. And now is the opportunity, because like I said, black voters are becoming disenchanted with the Republican Party. I mean, I saw a poll that was conducted by Washington Post and ABC News, not right-wing news outlets. And they asked black voters, if the election were held today, would you pick Biden or Trump? 23% chose Trump. So most of those black respondents still picked Biden, but it shouldn't have been in those numbers. They should have had 90 plus. Stacey Abrams, she's got 79% black support in Georgia right now. She should be 90, 95%. So there is a shift happening here. But the question is, do Republicans want to take that on? Republicans need to speak to issues that black voters care about. The economy, just like everybody else, black people are concerned about the economy, crime, education, and a lot are concerned about immigration. And you know who's better on those issues? The Republican Party. But to kind of speak to what you were saying before about having black people vote Republican to get the Democrats to get it together, that can't be just like a one-time thing. And I think we brought this up on Angie's show. It has to be permanent. I don't want black people voting 90% for Republicans either, at least not over the long term. Like if they want to send a message, fine. But if they do it over the long term, the Republicans are just going to do exactly what the Democrats have been doing, taking the vote for granted, doing whatever they want because they know that they're just going to get the votes anyway. I've always said, and I'm not the only one, I mean, even back in the past, in the 80s, people were talking about having that vote be as close to 50-50 as we can possibly get it. That way, now we have power because now we have both parties actually fighting for our votes. Right now, that's not the case. Republicans don't really fight, and Democrats don't really have to fight either because they know that black people aren't going anywhere. And I even saw somebody in the comments say, I live in a Democrat city and we've never seen a Republican here. You don't know how many times I've heard that story. I mean, I've spoken to black Republican candidates running in cities like Chicago, Baltimore, others. And they talk about how they'll go knock on doors and the people will say, we've never even seen a Republican here. We see them on TV, but they don't show up. And they actually appreciated that somebody was willing to show up. The problem is that the Republican Party at the local, state, and federal level is not throwing support behind those candidates. So they don't have that machine to be able to go up against the Democratic machine. So that needs to change if we actually want to start taking this seriously. So I'll stop it right there.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned, what was the brother's name you said who said his part of his strategy was asking for the vote?
Governor Mike Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee. Okay, okay. Because I remember Trump asking for our vote.
If I could interject real quick.
Absolutely.
Because I know everybody's waiting with bated breath to hear from Brother Marcel. We're not in a position to even care about anything at this point but closing the borders. So there's just no time to, we're out of time. If we don't successfully shut the Demorats come this midterm, our votes will be totally powerless come 24. Because what a non-vote or a vote for the Demorats is going to do during the midterms is to embolden Biden to give 11 million DACA citizenship on top of the 46.2 million that are already here, along with giving citizenship and rights to illegals. Now, he's been in there, 18 months or so? We've already got not 2 million, but 5 million illegals are in this country as Kagame sits up on CNN and pretends like the borders are secure. And Fox has clearly shown the border patrols opening up those gates and allowing them right over. I've shown footage on my archives where the illegals are saying the border's right open, we just came right over. And where are they dumping them? In our cities. While Joe Crow is sitting up here talking about 37 billion more dollars to the race soldiers to come into our communities and execute us with impunity, while the Democratic Party is more concerned over abortion. You see, they need replacement. If they're pushing abortion on our poor, who else do they need to replace us with for low-skilled labor and the like? So I'm saying this to say, we can negotiate after we deliver the repugnant clans. Because let me help you understand something. Both parties suck. I'm an independent. I highly recommend everyone, every Freedman, to go and file when it's safe to do so as an independent. You must defect from the Demorats to show them we mean business. And what I'm speaking to, it's not just for midterm. They launched the first missile, meaning the Demorats have launched a missile at the Freedmen. And it is our job to return the same for several election cycles until they are begging Freedmen to cut our checks. That's really what this is. So we're at war. This has nothing to do with tangibles right now, because the Demorats will lie to you about tangibles just to have you sheep walk to the polls, to get you voting against your own interest. And the repugnant clans, we've not been their loyal voter base. So they really don't owe us at this time. But if they want the privilege of us declaring them as a party, we've got some negotiables and we need to come to the table and work this out. But right now, they desperately need us because their party is split between the rhinos and the MAGA. So they better stop playing and come and have a conversation with the reparationist perspective and her tribe. We're not delivering them for their sake. We're delivering them for ours. I'll land there.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm going to get to Brother Marcel. And once I pretty much, I have certain questions that I just wanted to pose to each panel member. So I'm going to Brother Marcel next. But if anybody, we're all adults and grown and respectful. If anybody has anything they want to chime in with at any time, please do so. And we'll keep it like that. We'll try to keep it as free flowing as possible. But I wanted to put to Brother Greg, who has experience now as a candidate. And I believe you said this was your actual first time voting. Ran as a Democrat. What will be your perspective, having ran as a Democrat living in a Democratic stronghold of James Clyburn, how do you think the idea of Black Democrats in seeking tangibles, possibly, switching or reaching across the aisle and finding Republican candidates who we might be able to support? What would be your perspective on how would that play with the people?
Well, I've always said it has to be policy, always. Party, never. So I'm not looking at this as some vote Republican strategy or vote against the Demorats strategy. I'm looking at this as what is the policy strategy. And right now, we are under invasion. 5 million illegals have entered this nation. And those 5 million illegals are probably going to have children that are going to have the right to vote. We've already seen like what's happening in California. These Latinos and Hispanics, however they choose to identify, are just as, if not more, anti-Black than white Americans who are anti-Black that have been here for generations. We heard that recording in California. It sounded like something you would hear right here in the Deep South with a bunch of good old boys, anti-Black, white American bigots planning to disenfranchise Black Americans. I don't feel we should be reaching across the aisle to do nothing. The Republicans need to be reaching across the aisle to us. However, we are in a battle. And if I'm in a battle for my life, and even more so for the survival of my people, I'm going to use any weapon at my disposal to defeat my enemy. Illegal immigration is an enemy. It's a big threat. If we had reparationist candidates on the ballot, a true reparationist candidate means, in my mind, not just a person who knows that this nation, the federal government, needs to pay us that debt, but they also recognize that these illegal immigrants are a huge threat to us. We will go from being second class, third class, fourth class to fifth class. We will be put in a position of social, political extinction. Okay? If you are a reparationist candidate, you should be not just for closing the borders. I hate when we say closed border candidates. I don't just want you to close the borders. I want you to line up every single illegal immigrant in this nation and throw them back over the border. Whether that border is the southern border, the northern border, back to Asia, back to Africa, back to Europe, the Caribbean, wherever it may be, they need to go. I also feel we need to look at this retrospectively. If you are in this country illegally and you had a child, that child should not be getting birthright citizenship. That was something done for the descendants of American slaves, people of my lineage. It is an insult for these people to come here, be anti-Black American, as many of them are, but then use the civil rights that our people bled, fought, and died for to buy homes, to get jobs, which is technically illegal, and to get birthright citizenship for their children, who will then turn around and firebomb Black American households like they are doing in California. So what I'm saying, I'm not going to tell anyone vote for Republicans flat or vote against the Democrats flat. I will say that in this election, if there is a candidate who is for putting every single last illegal out of here, give that candidate your vote just for that. You can assume that just because someone is a Republican, that they are for stopping illegal immigration. That's what they will tell you. But then you go to their mansions and you will see illegal immigrants working there. The same way you can assume that every Demorat is for open borders. There are some Democrats who are for closing the borders, who are for putting out these illegal immigrants, okay? So you have to examine the policy. This is not about party, this is about policy. But for us, descendants of American slaves, freemen, this is about our survival. And I would vote for a reparationist candidate if they were on the ballot. I tried to get on the ballot here in South Carolina. I'm running again. Tamara Shelley Johnson tried to get on the ballot in Georgia. I am not so familiar with her stance on illegal immigration. William Somerville tried to California. There were some reparationist candidates, but you already know where I stood. Line up every single illegal immigrant and put them out, okay? And put that wall on the border, and if need be, militarize it. That's my attitude when it comes to illegal immigration. However, We don't have reparationist candidates that I know of that are running for office. So we need to do the next best thing. This is not about the lesser of two evils. I'm not going to tell my people choose between the lesser of two evils. This is about us defeating a great evil, and that is illegal immigration. So we need to vote for those candidates that are pro-deportation, immediate, show no mercy, and for closing down the borders. If anyone has a problem, because I know we got people going around here saying no tangibles, no vote. Those people are saying that because they think that's what Tariq Nasheed wants to hear. Tariq Nasheed never just said no tangibles, no vote. This is a man who has considered 2 years ago, and he's now doing it again, running for office. So obviously he realizes that you have to do more than just say no tangibles, no vote. We have to become the candidates that are offering those tangibles. But if we don't stop illegal immigration, we will not have enough votes to get the tangibles when they come. They need to get out of here. And anyone that has an opportunity to put someone in office that will deport these illegals, whose policy and historical record shows they will do that, you are sitting back allowing us to be invaded, and you are diluting our voting power. And that cannot be. And if anyone says, well, we can't vote people who aren't offering tangibles, I would say we would have had people offering tangibles had you run and you've been on the ballot offering those tangibles, or at least had tried. So that's where I stand with this situation here. But let me say something too. We're going to be very, very clear about something. I'm not advocating for my people to go and vote for the Republicans so we can go from voting for one party that in 60 years did nothing to significantly and specifically benefit us. But they sent billions to Ukraine, still doing it. They're housing and feeding and clothing your jobs to Afghani refugees. White Americans during this time were still benefiting from the land they got via the Homestead Act and the GI bills and the labor union bills. They're trying to give illegal immigrants not just citizenship, but underneath the New Deal for New Americans, they will be giving them housing, educational resources, medical resources, business resources. They've given people exposed to radiation reparations, the Iranian hostages reparations, people in Guam reparations. Every group, Native Americans have now received historical levels of funding. Asian Americans are getting billions of dollars. Every group is getting something except for us, and yet this is a party that would not exist without us. I refuse to tell it just go to the Republicans and get treated the same. So I want to make that very clear. If a Republican wants our vote, they're going to do more than just come and ask for it. If you are just going to come and ask me to vote for you, but you don't have any specific policies for my people to benefit my people, you might as well not even bother asking, because the answer is going to be no. So they too have to come with specific policies. But for this situation that we are in, we need to get these illegals out of here. Even in South Carolina, which is 30% Black, we have a very small percentage of immigrants. But we have the fastest growing Hispanic Latino population in the country. I'll be damned if my damn state ends up looking like that place over there, California. I will be damned. But that's what's going to happen if we just sit back and say no tangibles, no vote, because we want to be politically lazy. It's easy to simply not vote. How about make your vote count? Or even better, how about run for office and be the candidate for whom we can vote? How about run for office and offer us those tangibles we need? But until then, we have to stop this invasion, because again, I emphasize, if we don't, then when that candidate with tangibles come along, we're not going to have enough of our votes to outnumber theirs. And they're never going to vote for someone that's going to help us. And we will be in a situation from which there is no return. And you'll have yourself to blame for sitting there and letting it happen.
Yeah, and I agree, because it seems like we're really in a pickle. I agree with Brother Jeff. We've kind of painted ourselves into a corner. That's been my outlook on it. From years of 90% one way, without balancing out our votes from cycle to cycle to kind of force a competition for the vote. We're neglected by the blue, and we're totally ignored by the red. And then again, they both stand to benefit from this influx of illegal, immigrants, as they always have. So when money's involved, when people's bottom line is involved, you know, a lot of times their morality goes out the window.
Well, there's another thing we can do. We have another weapon at our disposal that we need to stop acting like does not exist. We need to call ICE. I want to give this number out right now, and I need people to write this number down. And I'm going to take tonight, and I'm going to start reporting a series of businesses that I know are hiring illegals in my area. And the number that I have is right here. And everyone needs to take this number now. We need to be calling ICE. We cannot just sit by passively and talk about how bad it is. That's coward stuff. We need to be active in defending our community. The number is 1-866-437-2423. 1-866-437-2423. And if ICE is not doing their job, they can be sued, because our people have a history of suing the federal government when they haven't done their job, or when they did things that were counter to the policy they're supposed to upheld, usually discriminating against us. We need to be calling ICE and getting them out of here. And if we're not doing that, you are aiding our extinction, political and social extinction. We will be a permanent underclass just here to prop up this nation while never, ever seeing a penny in what we're owed. How many of our people are going to be put in the ground without seeing a penny of the justice we're supposed to get? And y'all going to sit here and let these illegals come here, have their children get voting rights, and they're going to vote against us every single time. If you thought the white Americans who were anti-black were bad, we ain't seen nothing yet. But I've been to Latin America, and I've seen how they treat the black Afro-Latinos there. I've been to 5 Latin countries, and trust me, the Afro-Latinos there are going through pure hell.
You know, and there's also something to that too, because a few years in Mississippi, you guys might have heard this story, that what you just laid out, Marcel, actually happened. I mean, there was these plants, I think they were meat packing plants, had been there for years, and they had replaced their black workers with illegal immigrants. And I don't know if somebody called or if ICE got a tip, or I don't know how it came about, but ICE raided those facilities, found out that they were harboring illegal immigrants, hiring them, and they got them out of there. And guess what? The black workers got their jobs back. I mean, that's just one example, but we need more. I mean, we need politicians who will go and say, I will levy fines or send people to jail for knowingly hiring illegal immigrants. E-Verify, you're right. It is about the policy. The problem is that the Republican establishment hasn't really cared about illegal immigration because of the Chamber of Commerce types who want illegal immigrations because it makes it easier for business. So the faction of the Republican Party, the MAGA faction, who actually wants to do something about it, they need to take power. But you're right. Each individual politician, whether Republican or Democrat, needs to have the right policy platform.
Sister Angela, you want to say something?
Yes, before I forget it, I done forgot it about 3 times in the course of everybody's exchange. Forgive me, my mind just races a bazillion watts a minute. Let me just share with you guys what happened to us out here. First of all, Governor Newsom, who's intending to run for president to turn the country into California, gave 2.3 million undocumented, illegal immigrants protections from deportation, jobs, Medi-Cal, and driver's licenses. While our numbers are shrinking, we're being legislated up out of here. Furthermore, on our reparations task force, we had a freedman by the name of Reginald Jones Sawyer, because he was angry that we prevailed on lineage-based reparations. He started a bill to extend our proposals beyond 2023, when we are clearly out of time, when our unemployment rates are over 11%, our homeless rates are probably around 75, 80%. And people are getting evicted and losing their homes left, right, and center, because our median national income is around 35 to 40,000. Out here in the state of California, the median home price is around 850,000. What this freedman did, which is why I call white supremacy Crayola, He started a bill to extend the reparations an additional year, and he amended it to be able to get rid of the 5 lineage-based task force members removed at his discretion, because the Black immigrants who are Johnny-come-lately to an event they were not invited to are screaming for race-based reparations. And Reginald Jones Sawyer, along with Cheryl Grills, Lisa Holder, and Don Tamaki, who voted for race-based reparations, know full well that Prop 209, back in 96, founded by Freedmen, Kuhn, Ward, Connerly, has made it impossible in the state to sue on the grounds of race. And those 4 who voted for race-based reparations knew that. And he put it to a vote. All of the Demorats, 100% of the Demorats voted in favor of that bill. Those Demorats are predominantly white and Hispanic and Asian. Very, very few of us. So we managed, as the contemporary reparations grassroots movement, shout out to each and every one of you all over the country. I know certain orgs get a lot of the credit. They're moving a lot of weight and doing a lot of wonderful things. But do know, we would have never prevailed on lineage-based reparations without you guys calling in and keeping that chat lit when we were in hearings. And we would have never gotten a veto had you not ascribed to the call to action on Newsom's head to back Reginald Jones Sawyer and the rest of the Demorats up. Only 1 Republican voted alongside the Demorats. 10 other Republicans were a no. Now, I don't know why they were a no. I'm not getting into all of the tumbleweeds. I'm telling you that it's great to have a conversation after we deliver the Republicans this midterm. We got 2 years to get them ready to come to the table and talk about what they intend to do for our vote come 24. But right now, while y'all sitting up here telling me that they're not offering me a damn thing for my vote, yes, they are. Because let me help you with something. Trump threw these illegals out of the country about 70, maybe 63%, if my memory serves me. ICE was on their heads. As a matter of fact, these illegals were not even crossing the border. Unakin to Joe Crow, who's let in 5 million and is lying to the people that the borders are closed, while on video, you can go look at my archives, the immigrants who can barely speak the King's English are excited because the border is wide freaking open. So who you gonna believe? The Demorats or the people that are getting access to the country? Now, Joe Crow has spent damn near $1 trillion protecting the borders of Ukraine in his war against Russia.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what it is. It's a proxy war.
I don't remember
with
that
Russia
happening under Trump. Now, I hate both of them. But when I look, as people are screaming for reparations, we got nothing coming from either party, and the Demorats are the ones that owe us. Actually, so do you think if 90% of us continue to show to the polls voting blue, no matter damn who, to our own erasure and replacement, that they get any notion that they need to unass our cash? Or do you think that they will continue to enrich these other groups with our reparations and protections?
I actually would say we actually probably stand a better chance, as sorry as this is, getting reparations from someone like Trump than this Joe Crow we have. Joe Crow already made his position on reparations clear in the 1970s. He said he'll be damned if he feels responsible for what happened 300 years ago. He said that while at that time he was upholding segregation and keeping Black kids out of better resource schools. He's talking about having 300 years ago. It's still happening now. Trump, that platinum plan was by no means reparations, nowhere near it. However, it was $500 billion, and he talked about things in there like getting illegals up out of here and dealing with the Black maternal mortality rate and Black business ownership and things like that. This thing that we have in the White House now comes in with some lift every voice plan that he ain't mentioned since he got in office, which was $11 billion measly dollars. So Trump actually, when Ice Cube asked for who wants to meet with me to develop a plan specifically for Black voters, Black Americans, Trump said, I'll meet. Biden said, wait until after the election, and he ain't met with the man yet. So we actually, both may be sorry, but we actually, based on historical action, will probably have a better chance of getting reparations under Trump, who sat down and came up with something, said this is going to be for Black Americans. And he did it and stood his ground on it and didn't get any backlash. You can't get this sorry bastard in office to say that Black Americans even built the nation. Trump said out of his mouth, Black Americans built the nation and never got any credit for it. We can easily get him to say never got paid for it either. So actually, I don't care what people think watching it either. The truth of the matter is, based on past actions, you actually might stand a chance, as crazy as it sounds, getting reparations from Trump than from this Joe Crow.
I mean, a lot of us have been saying in the Black conservative world that Republicans are missing an opportunity if they don't address this issue, because we know Democrats are never going to do it. They don't want to do reparations because they've been able to dangle it in front of Black people for decades. So they're not going to do it. The only way they possibly would is if Republicans came to the table with something. Then you have both parties fighting to see which package to put together. But yeah, the platinum plan, I mean, I had my issues with it too, but it was a lot closer to what we've done in the past. And you know what? Trump had support for that among white conservatives. They were saying, it would have been a great start. I think if he had gotten reelected, and if he was in office and he pushed that, he would have gotten support, not from the establishment, but from the base. So I do agree with that. I mean, people say Republicans will never do it, but there are some who will. And if the MAGA movement does take over, we will get a lot closer to it. And I'm just going to I'm sorry. I'm just going to land really quick. American lady in the chat said President Biden is an American descendant of slave owners. And I just want you to know I'm stealing that.
Let me tell you something funny.
She stole it from me.
When I went
okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Election, I went to an election integrity event, and it was MAGA heavy. And I'm under no illusions of the anti-Blackness that exists there. But the fact that I spoke on reparations full-chested, full-throated, and I had some, and I have their cards like right in my room over there, come and hand me their cards and want to speak further. I have yet to have one Democrat reach out to me to discuss my better deal for Black America plan. Not one has reached out to me. Now, I've called the South Carolina Democratic Party, and Trav Robertson, to his credit, he has said, send me what you have on Aaron's property and I'll get it to a state legislator. It's a state level thing. But as far as reparations, I've had several Republicans on the national level, on the state level, reach out to me and want to sit down and talk about my better deal for Black America. Why is it that the Demorats, we know why, not one has done it, because they take us for granted. I am going to make this very clear. If Trump calls and says, hey, I want to meet up to talk about agenda for the Black American community, and if I happen to get an invite, I'll be the first to that damn table. I don't care who don't like it. Ain't nothing you can do to me. I will be there talking about reparations. I'll be there talking about getting rid of the illegal immigration. I'll be there talking about protection. I'll be there talking about separation in the sense of us bringing back our Black American ethnic enclaves, our Black Wall Streets that would have been thriving today, would have been making New York City look like a one-street-like town had they not been destroyed by anti-Black violence.
And I wanted somebody to address, well, Marcel, you could address it. Everybody can address it. I highlighted this comment here. I took it off the screen where they're talking about the no tangibles, no vote. What is a tangible? We know reparations is at the top of our list. A Black agenda, specific policy, but isn't the immigration, isn't that a tangible for us
That is
of some sort? Doesn't that lead to tangible results?
Legal and illegal immigration, because they both hurt the Black community.
Absolutely.
And I'm not even anti-immigration, but
neither am I.
I'm okay with lowering the amount that we take in to make sure that our people are taken care of.
But I believe it needs to be checked extremely. It's too, it's too far out of whack.
Let me be clear. I am anti-illegal immigration to the core. I am probably further to the right. When I meet the MAGA people and they hear my views of illegal immigration, they be like, okay, you need to chill. I'm probably as far to the right when it comes to illegal immigration as you can imagine. I want them out of here. They need to get gone. Now,
they scared of you. They're like, how's he more extreme than we are?
Legal immigration, I'm anti-legal immigration the way it stands in its current predicament. Its numbers need to be drastically lowered. Now, let me explain. When people say tangible, they talk about policies that are specifically lineage-based that are going to benefit descendants of American slaves, Black Americans, people who this country owed a special debt to and owed special redress. However, we have to get those people in office who are going to do tangibles. If we don't stop illegal immigration, that's going to expand the number of anti-Black bigots who are going to vote against any candidate like myself that's going to do tangibles Black Americans. So if you're sitting there saying no tangibles, no vote, because you got a Mexican girlfriend who's in the country illegally and you want sexual access to her, and you are therefore saying let the borders stay open, you are now going to allow illegals to come in here, have children, and then when candidates offering tangibles run for office, we aren't going to have enough votes to outnumber their votes, and the tangibles will never happen, and we're going to be permanently an underclass. That's what's going to happen. Some people just want sexual access to illegal immigrants. All it's about.
Wow. Yeah.
So
it's all levels.
I'm not going to.
There's levels to the game.
I need
Go
y'all
ahead,
to
Sister
understand
Angela.
something. Folks tried to pretend that the Dixiecrats went with the Republicans when our ancestors had the backbone and the cojones to leave the Republican Party for the Demorats. You guys are actually trying to convince me of that. Well, I know that Joe Crow with 3 Ks is Strom Thurmond's eulogist. Okay, look him up. I ain't got time to do it over here. It's in the archives.
No,
I know that Crooked Hillary with 3 Ks. I know that she was a Barry Goldwater girl. I know, look it up on ScrewTube, Barack Obama admitted that he's a Republican in Democratic clothing. So please miss me with all the Dixiecrats stayed over there when we defected from that party for civil rights. A civil rights that we no longer benefit from. They have literally taken our civil rights and affirmative action that was designated for us to become American, and they've given it to white women, LGBTQIAXYZ. Since when who you screwing have anything to do with our affirmative action? Look at how they do it. That was a come up for white men. Okay. They're the ones that are majority LGBTQIAXYZ. It's not Freedmen. And I'm not homophobic. I'm not anti-immigrant, but I am anti the weaponization of immigration against American freedmen to keep us tethered to the bottom of this Titanic called America with 3 Ks as the anchor of this country's with 3 Ks, capitalism with 3 Ks. So please understand that the immigrants, LGBTQIAXYZ, and the white women benefit from our affirmative action while we die on the vine, while we are redlined into environmentally racist communities and tenement housing, while we are being miseducated and set up for the preschool to prison pipeline for the not so new slavery, while we suffer the highest rates of homelessness, unemployment, underemployment. Okay, so please know there are a lot of Dixiecrats, Crayola Dixiecrats in the Democratic Party. And to my earlier point, as California goes, so goes the nation. If
That's
all
why
these
I always hated
Crayola
that.
white supremacists in the Democratic Party would vote to extend our reparations proposals until they came up with a solution to get rid of it altogether by making it race-based. That's exactly what's coming for us at the federal level if we don't weaponize this vote and socialize the suffering. I'll take a breath.
And let me say this too. I see someone asking, how do we increase our political power? I need us to stop being politically lazy. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. We are so damn politically lazy. Everybody wants to sit down on their tails and wait for Superman to come from the sky with a cape on. You are Superman. You run for office on the platform that you know we need and that you want to see. No Superman is coming to save us. Our ancestors walked off the plantation and walked right into the halls of the U.S. Congress, South Carolina. Joseph Rainey, first black man elected to Congress. Stop sitting there, be politically lazy. And I see all these ideas being mentioned. I'm a fan of us returning to the South so we can have a region where we are the majority. But we need to, in order for that to be expedited, and for it to happen at the rate where it needs to happen, and I'm talking to your black state majority, I see you here, we don't got time for the 20-year plan. We don't got 20 years. Are you kidding me? We don't got no 20 years. We don't got 15. We don't got 10. We don't got 5.
We don't have 15 minutes. Right. We don't have 15 minutes.
We already too late.
So we're on the clock.
We need to run for office.
We are out of time.
Some of you are being politically lazy because you want to sit back. You don't want to deal with any backlash that may happen. You don't want to deal with any hardship that may happen. So you want to sit back and tweet ideas out, and that's it. You need to run for office. And if you can't run for office, then you need to be running a support system for the people that do stand up and run for office.
Knock on doors.
Y'all are being politically lazy. Y'all are being politically lazy. When you sit there and talk about, we need to do this, we need to do this, then why aren't you doing it? We have to run for office. If we get in office, we can expedite with policies to get our people back to the South, where we are already like 35% and easily becoming over 50%. And we can then elect on code senators, U.S. House representatives, governors, state officials, and we can then stop the abortion of our beautiful Black American babies. Because even though the Black American population, like Jeff said, is growing, Black women have around 600,000 babies a year, we will be booming if not for abortion. You need to get to office and pass these policies. I am sick of us being politically lazy. And everyone have a big mouth until you say, well, what do you do? Are you going to run for office? Or are you going to get out there and pound the ground and support a person who's running for office? Everybody then gets lazy stuff looking like this. It gets quiet. Nothing is going to change until we make the change. That's really how it works for us.
And real quick, I'm just going to add this in here. As far as Black people moving back to the South, it's already happening. A lot of people don't know this, but the reverse Great Migration is happening. Black people are moving back to the South in huge numbers. And this has been going on for like 10, 20, 30 years. I just wrote an article about it a couple months ago. So it's already happened. But you're right. I mean, we have to take action. If you're not going to run, can you knock on doors? Can you get involved in campaigns? We all have different lanes that we're in that we can use to help the effort. But you're right. Nothing's going to change. I mean, because I was talking earlier about, making the parties fight for our votes. Yeah, that's just a part of it, though. That's just a part of it. Exactly. We have to get active. We got to get out there. I mean, Stacey Abrams in Georgia was able to do it, and those 2 Senate seats went to Democrats. If that can happen, then we can do that in reverse, because obviously we're not going to be down with Stacey Abrams' views on immigration, abortion, and these other issues. But we do have to get way more active. And I think it's going to start, if it happens, it's got to start with Black men. I'm not being sexist, but Black men are the ones who are becoming disillusioned with the Democratic Party. They're the ones who are going to have to get out there and not listen to those people scolding us about getting in line like Tiffany Cross did a few weeks ago. Like, we don't listen to those people. Do what you think is right. Support the policies that are going to benefit us.
Can I respond to something real quick? I see a post saying like have more children, 20-year goal. We don't have 20 years. We already too late. Okay, but if anyone can catch up, it's our people. Also, our people, even illegal immigrants aren't having children like that. people are having less children because it's too damn expensive. So if we want more people to have children, you got to get in office and pass policies that are going to make society conducive to people who want to have children. Because right now, the younger generation, we're not Generation X and Boomer who said, well, I'm going to struggle to raise my kids. No, this is a generation like, if it's going to be a struggle, I'm not even going to be bothered with it. We need to run for office. You can shout out all the things we need to do, but if there aren't policies to buffer it, not going to happen.
Let me weigh in, please. I got to say this before I lose my thought. I want to talk to the repugnaclans who sit up here and pretend to be a proud pro-life. Okay? No, you're not. You are pro-birth. Marcel Dixon is pro-life. He is about whole, healthy marriages and family to procreate beautiful freedmen children who have the right to be American when they come out the womb. What these repugnaclans are pushing is to be in control of their numbers because their numbers are shrinking. The only reason they want a freedman baby is for target practice and to be slaves in the private prison industrial complex. So I see you repugnaclans, you need to change your mantra to pro-birth because there is nothing about what you're pushing on the poor freedmen that would suggest that you are about us living a full-blooded American life akin to what our ancestors died for. You know, that wealth you killed and stole, and all of you eat from while sitting back and saying, I didn't enslave anyone. Please understand, you're only pro-birth, you're not pro-life. Pro-life means healthy Black families and marriage. Jobs that are paying an American wage commensurate with the state you live in, the housing prices. That would mean making sure that we each had an amazing home in an eco-friendly community that doesn't have racial terrorism and violence by the race soldiers and the Black on Black crimes and murders that you stoke when you deprive the Black communities of jobs and education and housing. So please, miss me with it. I will tell you again, both parties suck. I am an independent. I am simply voting for closed border candidates whom I pray will do exactly as Marcel has intimated. Throw these 5 million plus, because let me tell you, if the Demorats are delivered, you're going to talk about not just 5 million. If he did 5 million illegals in 18 months, triple that number. You're going to be looking at 15 million illegals, and the Freedmen vote will have delivered it to our peril and erasure. I'll take a breath.
And I want to say something really quickly. I'm sorry, Marcel, just really quickly, because somebody said, I don't know who mentioned civil rights being given to white women. You know, Gloria Allred is the one who was responsible for tying feminism to the civil rights movement. I think she wrote a paper called After Civil Rights, Women's Empowerment. And we see a trend of how other people hitch their wagons to our civil rights struggle.
I was going to bring that up earlier.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I just want to put that in there before I forgot, but go ahead, brother Marcel.
Gloria Allred may have...
I'm sorry, Marcel. The Demorats weaponize our never-ending Holocaust to give all of our advances to immigrants and to line their own pockets. I'll take a breath. Thank you.
Gloria Allred may be responsible for introducing it. We are responsible for maintaining it, because we should have been saying to the Demorats a long time ago, or held to the no, white women were at every lynching. They were on the plantations enslaving us too. They were right there supporting Jim Crow and redlining and racial massacres and land theft and debtors' prison and sharecropping and black holes. You name the despicable anti-Black American violence, and white women were always a big part of it, right neck to neck with white men. How the hell do they now get to be oppressed group when they were the group partially doing the damn oppressing? We allow that. If the boomers would have got some backbone and said, oh, hell no, until you get them all, you're not getting our vote, or we're going to run for office to get you and make sure you don't get our vote, this would not have been happening. That is why even Lyndon B. Johnson, who was an anti-Black American man, even he though said affirmative action was for Black Americans, the Negro. He said you can't say to the Negro who's been locked up for 300 years, okay, you're free now, go ahead and catch up with the white man that had a 300-year head start and expect him to be there. Those were Lyndon B. Johnson's exact words. Even an anti-Black man from Texas realized that affirmative action and civil rights should have been specifically for the Black Americans. It is our fault. And I'm looking in this chat, and I still don't hear people saying, like they say in the Bible, here I am, send me, when it's time to run for office. But everyone has all these great ideas. You can have all the good ideas in the world. Who's going to do these good ideas? If we're talking about both parties neglecting us right now, what good is your good ideas? Who's going to do it? We're here where we are because neither party is doing it. You are the person that has to do it. And if you don't do it, it ain't going to happen. And don't complain when we are a permanent underclass, which we are already at the threshold of being.
Jeff? Marcel's on fire.
No, he is. No,
I did have something I wanted to interject, circle back to when we talk about birthright citizenship. What, if anything, can be done about it? What, if anything? Because it seems like it's so entrenched that it can never be reversed.
And repeal it. Mm-hmm. And that's the answer, y'all. This is no magical abracadabra mystery code here. You got to get the power. If we want legislation, we have a right to run for office. All of us are not going to run for office. All of us can't. But there's enough of us to finance candidates that can run for office, do policies for us. That's what the Tea Party did. Obviously, the Tea Party was a bunch of white people who had more resources, but there are enough of us to run for office and to get the funding and backing we need. I started 6 months. Most people didn't hear me until it was like 3 months left. And even though in that month I got over $200,000 with being a person that no one ever heard of and had just started from pure scratch in a small town, not no major city with shakers and movers. If that could happen with me in that small little amount of time, other people with bigger backings and better connections can do it. If we don't do it, you are an insult to your ancestors. You might as well stab and run the knife through our heart. Nothing is going to happen unless we run for office and make it happen. Okay? And I see someone talking about vote Republican. No. The answer is vote for closing the border right now, but eventually the answer is vote for candidates that are going to have a Black American first agenda. But first, we got to have the candidates. And all y'all are doing is sitting there hoping and praying and waiting for someone else to do it when you could be the one doing it. If you are not going to do it, I really don't need to hear from you. If you're not going to run after the person on the platform, or you're not going to be out there pounding the ground to support the person doing it, then really your opinion is irrelevant at this point because you're just complaining and blowing off.
You know what? Fuck it, I'm running. I'm running for something.
Right.
I'm going to run for something. I mean, because really that's what it is. Too many of us are striving in dead-end careers where tomorrow they could fire you. And about 80% of Black people are probably living check to check. I think it's 65% of Americans. So if it's 65% of Americans, it's probably what, 85%?
So check this statistic out. During Trump's office, a study happened where they said the average American could not come up with $400 in an emergency situation. That was the average American. If
I need $400 right now for a new oil pan.
No. If a white American can't come up with $400 in the case of emergency, then a Black American probably can't even come up with $14 because the average white American median net worth is $200,000. Ours is just $23,000 and declining. So if they can't do it, we can't do it. We need to be the candidates. I keep hearing, I see someone in the chat keep telling us we're going to depend on the system. I need us to stop with that type of talk, okay? What do you mean? Listen, the system is only a problem because the system is a problem. We want to take over the system and make it one that works for us, then it won't matter we're depending on the system because we will have control over it, but we have to run for office to do that. My plan calls for us to have an agency that's going to be separate from the government. The government will only back it financially. That's it. The Freedmen Bureau will oversee all affairs maintained to freemen. So the system, I guess, which we mean, will be out of it. But we have to stop acting like we don't live in America. We are Americans. We deserve to have the system work for us. We deserve to have this system do something for us. And our ancestors didn't say middle finger to the system, I'm just going to mind my business. They ran for office in that same system in the 1860s. America is still horrifically anti-Black American, but let's be honest, we're not going through what our people went through in the 1860s. In the 1860s, you have Black Americans running for office in an extremely violent, brutal, anti-Black American society. So if the system wasn't too scary for them then it shouldn't be too scary for us now. I'm tired of all that build our own nation talk. We need to run for office or it's not going to change. And I have no more to say after that.
And I want to chime in. For those of you, and I think it's commendable that you want to start your Freedmen parties and you want to start a third party, but I would ask you to ask yourself, how is that working for the Green Party and the Libertarian Party? We've got a two-party oligarch. And guess what happened to me when I voted Green Party at the top of the ticket and Demorat down the ticket the last election cycle? I was still called a Trump supporter. I was still called a Republican. So we got to get beyond giving a damn, because you've got to get to the point in this fight when the flourishing of freedmen supersedes your emotionalism. I don't give a damn that Herschel Walker don't speak the King's English. I don't give a damn about who he's messed over. And guess who else don't give a damn? Republicans. I mean, that race is still very, very close. But I hear way too many of us buying into this emotionalism that we bought into during Trump when he was running for office, because he called Africa, who sold us into slavery, a shithole country. Like, that doesn't bother me as much as our extinction. And I got people telling me it's too late. Well, I'm just grateful to God that the ancestors did not need your consciousness to fight and win the Civil War for our emancipation. That's what I'm grateful for. As long as you've got breath and as long as you've got the power of your vote, it is not too late. It is up to each and every one of us to make messages like mine, messages like these, to go viral. And if you want to talk about political power, that's where your power lies, while folks sit up here and try to convince me, as the Joe Crow administration seeks to neutralize our vote with immigration, as the Republicans seek to redistrict all over the country. You're trying to convince me that they're going through all these lengths, but my vote doesn't matter. Miss me with your nonsense. I will be every name in the book, but I'm telling you right now that Demorats have been declaring war on us since Sherman Order number 15, okay? Just please know both parties are involved in how we got here, but you've got to decide that you're going to weaponize your vote and cross hairs with the parties, because guess what the Demorats love far more than they love Freedmen? Power. And so when we weaponize our vote, we not only close these borders and kick these millions of immigrants out, we send a strong message to the Demorats, whom we've been most loyal, that time's up. You have got to grow the backbone of your ancestors who knew when to pivot without the education we have and without social media. I'll take a breath so Marcel can weigh in.
Yeah, and I mean, I pretty much have landed my plane or park my car, whatever thing I need to say. I do see a comment, someone saying begging. If anyone thinks this is begging, that means they're lost and there's no saving them. There's no saving them. This is called strategizing. You see, people say, how's it been working? It says, how's it been working, waiting and begging for people to give us something. No, how's it been working? Us sitting here trying to do things, bootstrapperism. How's that been working? We've lost almost all our land, less homes now than we did during Jim Crow. We went from 19 million acres of land now to 1, and we lost $360 billion worth of land just last year. That's what just sitting back trying to do bootstrapperism leads to. We are saying take over the system, weaponize the system. Every other group realizes that. You have the Tea Party people who were upset with the Republican Party. Did they just yell and scream about it on YouTube? No. I had these old ladies come to me and they were handing people pamphlets. They realized take over the system. And this whole thing about starting a third party, I'm not against starting a third party, but even when it comes to a third party, you still have to have what's the policy of that third party. And you still have to get support for that third party. It is, to me, a much more viable strategy to infiltrate the parties we have now. Take over the Democratic Party, run on the platform that we deserve. So they have to deal with it. Right now in South Carolina, the South Carolina Democratic Party is having to talk about reparations. They're having to talk about Black land ownership because I'm making them. They can't escape me. And I'm just one person. Imagine if there were 10 other people here doing it with me. Okay? It's because of y'all sitting there talking about begging and pleading and we need to do this, we need to do that, but you're not doing anything. It's because of y'all that more of us aren't doing it. How about you stop being a part of the problem and be a part of the solution? You run for office on the platform you want to see. If you want to run as a Republican, that's fine. Green Party, Libertarian, Constitution, whatever. You run on the platform we deserve and you make the party have to address it and you help bring it to the masses. That is how you lead.
Absolutely. I think a lot of our people are, it's plain old fear. We're afraid of everything. You know what I mean?
Hold on, man. I'm talking about that. I'm sorry. That's the problem. You remember that shirt we used? Remember that disrespectful shirt people used to wear saying we are not our ancestors? I hated that, but you know what? We need to bring that shirt back.
What does that mean? I never did.
I know that. No, it means that they're trying to say that our ancestors let white people push around and do that. It's not the case at all. But that used to be so disrespectful to me. But now I realize something. Those people were right. We are not our ancestors. Our ancestors
not
had
just in the way that they meant it. You're right.
Our ancestors had backbone. When our ancestors saw the Republican Party was not treating them right, they said, oh, hell no, and they started voting Democrat. When our ancestors got off the plantation, they started running for office right away to do things for their people. Y'all are not. We are not our ancestors. Because if we were our ancestors right now, we would be saying, okay, I'm running for office. I don't care if our ancestors couldn't even read. They couldn't even read. And they ran for office and got elected to U.S. Congress. And they stood up for Black Americans. Robert Small said in a time when Black Americans were getting lynched and whole towns were being burnt down that were fully Black, Robert Small said to the U.S. Congress, is one of my favorite quotes, the Negro is here to stay forever. So it is to the white man's good that the Negro gets everything he's owed. That's what Robert Small said in the 1860s. He couldn't even read. His first language was not even English. It was Gullah. He spoke Sea Island Creole, the language that the Black Americans, my people here, we speak here in the Low Country. And yet, that's what he did. Y'all, we are not our ancestors. Our ancestors would have been running for office right now, not sitting back, throwing out ideas like we're so smart, instead of running for office to put those ideas into actions. So we are not our ancestors. That shirt is absolutely right. We don't even have a modicum of the backbone our ancestors had. Right now, we are embarrassing our ancestors. Sitting back, letting our country get invaded. Sitting back, watching our babies getting aborted. And all some of y'all do is sit on the internet and throw out ideas and talk about what people should be doing. How about you do
what you say those people should be doing. Our ancestors would have done it by now.
And you've got to get to a place where you're more afraid of your extinction than you are to weaponize your vote and socialize your suffering. When you get to that place, you become fearless. When you think about what you're leaving to your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth, when you don't do as Marcel says to run for office, or you don't go to the tables like Asun Powell and many of my other comrades who are sitting down and having conversations with the opposite side, when you fail to do that, know that you are failing your entire lineage. And I'm not here to shame you. I just want to inform you that when you don't go out here and invoke a strategy that can actually help us in terms of our capacity to not just run for office, but to actually win, then you are contributing to our extinction. We will be as few in number as the Indians if we don't get out here and invoke a real strategy for our flourishing. Because I've already given you a couple of examples of how these immigrants are taking over office from the school board all the way up through the feds. And when we don't push back and we don't reach across this aisle to a Republican party that's crippled right now because of the rhinos and MAGA fight, okay, if we don't align ourselves with poor whites, akin to what we did before they made race a racial construct and taught poor white people that they were better because of their skin color, because even they are hurting now, then you will be complicit in our extinction. So if you can live with that and rest with that, have at it. But as for me, I cannot wait to close these borders and get a party in place that will prayerfully throw out every illegal. And I'm going to be sitting, I don't have 3 weeks to sit at a table, but I intend to reach across this aisle and talk to the Republicans here in the state of California and see what we can do together to get this out of here and to change the course of this Titanic. Thank you. I'll end there.
Well, I think Angela touched on it, though. I mean, because we brought up fear earlier. I think that's a factor, but I think more than anything, it's just apathy. I don't think most Americans understand what's coming down the pike, but especially Black Americans. I don't think that we really think that the situation is that serious. We may see the problems on TV and elsewhere, but we don't see how this stuff is affecting us. We think that, it's not as bad as it really is or really could be. Immigration is just one issue. Immigration is just one way that they're attacking the Black population. But there are others too. And I think a lot of that apathy, some of it just comes from wanting to keep your head in the sand, but others is just people just genuinely don't know. A lot of them don't, we're ignorant to a lot of what's going on in this country at the local, state, and federal level. So we think that things are just on an even keel. I mean, maybe some are mad about Trump, but as far as what's actually going on, I don't think most people know about it, which is contributing to that apathy. So breaking through that apathy, I think one of the things that needs to happen is a lot of this stuff needs to get exposed. Like what you're doing on your channel, this is great. We need more of this so that people know what's happening in our country.
Absolutely. So I want to ask a question because I had a conversation that was very interesting to me, maybe back in, I guess it was 2018, right around the midterms of 2018. Or was there a caravan around that time that was moving towards the border?
It's always a caravan.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a non-stop.
Yeah, but not like
caravan.
what we have now.
I'm about to say it's a non-stop caravan, pretty much.
Absolutely. But this was an issue at the time. And I was driving Uber, and I had a Latino gentleman in the back seat. He had his daughter with him. So, we're driving. And this man, we started a conversation, and this man asked me what I thought about the caravan. Being that, now I see your message, Marcel. Being that, I was driving Uber, I'm a professional mode. I'm not trying to talk politics or any of that. You know, he might give me a 1-star rating or whatever the case may be. So he asked me how I felt about the migrant caravan, the illegal immigrant caravan. I deflected to him. You know, I was like, well, what exit is this? You know, what do you think about it? And he explained to me that he was a second-generation Mexican American. His parents moved here in the 60s legally. He was born here, but he went on to express his disgust for the influx of illegal immigrants. That was an eye-opener for me to know that there were actual American or, Mexican Americans or Latino Americans who detest illegal immigration. So is there an opportunity there? Because I want to talk about maybe some, very quickly before you leave, Marcel. I know you have to go. But
I
who
do
are our
too. I'm
allies?
sorry.
What are some opportunities for allyship? Is there an opportunity for allyship with those who from other races who also detest illegal immigration and its effects?
Allyship, allyship makes me cringe. All I think about are white liberals, usually white feminists. We're allies. They usually be the most anti-Black bigots there are. However, to your question, yes, this is really, and this is going to sound corny, but this is really an American issue. Every single American should be offended that people could just waltz into our nation and then they come here and demand things from resources that even the average American struggles to have: food, housing, okay, good infrastructure, clean water. So definitely, listen, I'll work with anyone. I'll work with God and the angels. I'll work with the devil and the demons. When it comes to stopping illegal immigration, when it comes to reparations for the citizen American slaves, freedmen, my people from the federal government, we have to be willing to work with people with whom we may not agree. That's why even on Twitter, when somebody will get mad at me because I'm talking this one, talking that one, I have to work with people that you may not like, or I may not even like, but if our interests align, that's where we have to meet. So definitely we have to work with different people, definitely. And that's why when I went to that MAGA event, I took those MAGA cards, and my campaign manager and I are reaching out to them right now. And if I go to a Democratic event and you have the farthest left liberal there is, but somehow their interests may align with something that's going to benefit my people, I'll be the first one there to meet with them. So if Joe Crow, as much as I despise, y'all have no idea the level of hatred I feel for this thing that's in the White House. If that thing was ever able to call me, I would be right there. Alternatively, if Trump's called and say, hey, let's come up with something, I'll be the first one there. The first one there, bright and early.
Absolutely. And what was your perspective from the right, Jeff, as far as seeking true allies, at least for a time? Like I say, they say politics makes strange bedfellows.
Yeah,
you never know who you might end up pushing or pulling with, even if it's just for a short moment. What do you think about because I don't think that anybody can really be our true ally, because politics again is about the distribution of limited resources. So at the end of the day, everybody wants what they need for their plate. But even in the short term, around the issue such as immigration, again, it is an American issue. Yep. What's your take?
Yeah, I think it can be short term. I think it can be long term. I'm not surprised about the story that you told. There are a lot of Latinos who get pissed off by the fact that all these people just cross the border and they can just go into the country, not have to worry about getting deported or even caught. Like, there are a lot because they came the right way, or their parents came the right way, or their parents' parents came the right way. So I think there's a lot more than we even think. And if the interests align, if they want to go for the same thing we're going for, why not? I mean, Angela mentioned partnering with poor white men or even middle class. Like there's a lot of convergence here. There's a lot of overlap, and they may not be pushing for the same policies for the exact same reasons as us. I don't care. There's no reason to care about that. What we should care about is, do they want the same thing that we want? Do they want the policy that they want? Oh, you do? Great. Let's see if we can build something together. Because realistically, we can't do this on our own. Black Americans can't do this all by ourselves. We do, and I hate the term too, Marcel. We do need allies that are willing to also stand shoulder to shoulder with us. So I wouldn't turn away. I wouldn't turn away help if it's available.
Absolutely. And you said apathy was one of the main problems, among the Black electorate. I want to add to that ignorance. Ignorance and apathy. I don't know and I don't care. That's a lot of our problems. So yeah, appreciate that. So, we've almost been going about an hour and 40 minutes. I don't want to keep you all night. I'm sure we could continue to chop it up. Maybe we'll definitely reconvene in the future. Ms. Denise was unable to make it. She messaged me. Something came up, so hopefully we can get her back. But we can go ahead and start to close out. If anybody has any final thoughts that they want to drive home, I know Marcel has to leave, so you can go ahead and go first. Then we'll go to you, Miss Angela, and then we'll close out with Jeff.
I want to say that, again, I am never going to advocate that we just blindly vote for any party. Never. Okay? I am policy always, party never. We are in a war. I don't advocate lesser of the two evils, but we face a lot of evils as Black Americans, descendants of American slaves. And one of those evils is illegal immigrant. We have to be willing to use any weapon to stop it. So that means voting for candidates that are willing to deport them and close that damn border. Even if that candidate may not be one we particularly like, then do so. The only other alternative we will have is if we have reparationists on the ballot who better damn well be closed border, pro-deportation candidates, and who also want to support and fight for reparations. In order for us to get those candidates, you have to run. I have to run. Until then, we have to use the weapon at our disposal and get these illegal immigrants out of here. Because if not, to all you no tangibles, no voting people, what's going to happen when the person with tangible runs for office and now there's 90 million illegal immigrant votes versus our 60 million votes, and we will not be able to overcome their number of votes. We won't be able to get the pro-tangible candidate in office. That is what we have opportunity to stop, and we better act wise and stop it. And Stacia, you're right. If anything, yeah, we'll probably hear from Trump talking about a Black agenda before we hear from Biden. You're absolutely right. And I land there. Thank you for having me, Bill. Really appreciate it.
And before I let you go, Sister Angela, we missed a unique opportunity with Donald Trump. I voted for Trump twice. I was done with Obama after the first term. I got, the vibes was just all wrong. You know what I mean? And it really woke me up. I voted for Trump in 2012.
You were
yeah.
smart.
And I was angry. And yeah, I just, I jumped ship in 2012. And I lost my train of thought. I was saying, I can't remember, but it's okay. So go ahead. Go ahead with your thoughts, Sister Angela, before you forget what you wanted to say.
Angela, may I say something real quick? I'm going to be very brief. Okay, I'm sorry. Someone keeps saying in the chat we're only 13% of the population. That has been proven false so many times. The census has acknowledged they uncounted us. At a minimum, we're 18 to 19% because they undercounted us by at least 4% in 2020. So please, thank you. I'm done. Y'all take care. Good night.
Thank you, Brother Marcel.
That always irritates me when people say that.
Go ahead and shout out. Tell them where they can donate to your campaign and, show you some financial support.
Oh, sure. MarcelForCongress.com/donate. Marcel is M-A, well, you hear my shirt, MARCEL for Congress.com/donate. Every cent's appreciated. Thank y'all for having me. Really
Are those t-shirts on the website?
Yes, they are. You just go
That's
to
a nice
shop
t-shirt.
and
That's a
you
nice
have
t-shirt.
t-shirts right here. I have them in black, gray, red for right now. This is the black one, which they sent to me, and I love it. So you're gonna see me wearing this a lot.
Nice merch. I like it.
Thank you.
Love you, Marcel.
Love you, Take
Absolutely.
care,
We
y'all.
appreciate you. We really appreciate you, brother. You just don't know.
Thank
Nice
y'all so
talking it up
much.
with
My donations are on recurring. Okay.
Yes, they are. So thank you, Angela.
On you, Sister Angela.
Hi, family. Well, I've enjoyed this time we've had together. I really have. And I want all kind of brownies because I didn't scream the entire presentation like I normally do on the Reparationist Perspective channel. So I deserve some awards for that. Okay. I want you guys to know before I close that the Demorats have declared war on American freedmen. They fired the missile, and they've been doing so since they tricked us into voting for Barack Obama, who bailed out Wall Street and Main Street with our tax dollars and refused to put regulations and audits to guarantee they were lending back to us so that we could secure the only asset we had to bequeath our lineage, which was our homes. And so it was at that time that I started to wake up. And, I started listening to different reparationist, people talking about the politics through a Freedmen lens. I found you guys, my tribe, and I've been going to work ever since. And what I want you guys to know is that we're doing a great job. We're forever evolving. I have had to kiss and divorce many organizations to get to my square of my Freedmen protest voter strategy, which I'm very proud of. Okay. I'm very proud because this came to me in prayer. You guys know I'm a very, very spiritual woman, very connected to my inner Christ that gives me instruction on how to lead the people, on how to tell Pharaoh to let my people finally go. And so this feels very sound to me because when I look at the atrocities leveled at us by the Democratic Party, what I can say about the Republicans and Trump is that they did me nothing. And yet the corporate lamestream medias with 3 Ks had us all up in the lather over Trump's mean tweets. And I'm here to tell you, 86% of our electorate, myself included, went out and delivered. I delivered the Congress, but far too many of us delivered Kabami and Joe Crow. And what I'm asking of you, because many of you watching right now are in the contemporary reparations grassroots movement, I'm asking you to really consider how that Democratic down ballot got us here and how no tangible, no vote is going to make way for the legals to get to the polls in record number to vote in the interest of the Demorats who are currently giving them our reparations and protections, 40 going north. So, in closing, my Freedmen protest voter strategy for anyone who is at all confused is to vote closed border and vetted reparations candidates only, not the ones who are grifting, to neutralize our most imminent threat and replacement immigration. If we don't, we leave the fate of our lineage in the hands of immigrants who seek to replace us and Crayola white supremacists who seek to erase us. I love you. Freedmen strong. Thank you for having me, Bill Money.
Oh, I think you're muted. You're muted.
Thanks, Jeff. I was saying we love you too, Sister Angela, and you got to come back in the near future. I'm subscribed to your channel, so I'll keep my eye out on you as well.
Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. The Reparationist Perspective. I'm the little engine that could. Please, please, please like, share, subscribe, even this powerful, impactful video. and like, share, subscribe this channel, and like, share, subscribe Jeff's channel. Jeff, we're going to have to.
Yeah, we got to chop it up. I've already subscribed to your channel.
Absolutely.
I need you to help me defeat the Demorats, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I thought I was good at coming up with names for people. Like, you Kamami. See, I call her Black Hillary.
Command.
Yeah, that's my name for a Black
That's
Hillary.
funny.
It's Kabami if you're
Kabami,
nasty.
okay.
Kabami if you're nasty. 3 Ks. Kabami.
That's awesome.
And before I remember what I was going to say before you close out, Jeff. The opportunity that we had with Donald Trump, being that he's not a politician, so to speak, and he had motivation to upstage the Democratic Party. If you can remember in 2018, I believe it was, in his State of the Union address, when he touted that African-American unemployment was at its lowest numbers, since they began to record those numbers. And all the Republicans stood up and clapped. And then when you look to the Democrats, and there's a video on my channel, everything we talked about, I have a video talking about it on my channel. So you guys check out the channel, some of my playlists. The Democrats basically sat on their hands.
They sure did. They sure did.
I
I remember that
a
too.
few of them, but most of them was, looked like they were ready to spit. You know what I mean? So what I see is, Donald Trump was part of his mission was to upstage Barack Obama. They have a very serious rivalry. So when Steve Harvey went to meet with Donald Trump and other Black notables like Jim Brown,
those mediocre Negroes, according to Mark Lamont Hill,
they immediately dispatched John Lewis.
Look at what they're doing to Kanye.
Oh man, we're going to talk about that on another show. We definitely got to talk.
I want to come back for that one.
I'll bring you back for that one for sure. But they immediately dispatched John Lewis and other Negro whisperers to put us back in line.
I'm still in that too.
Have that. Somebody, I heard it from somebody. I don't know who. So credit to whoever come up with the Negro whisperer. But yeah, they dispatched John Lewis. They turned on Cornel West, Tavis Smiley. These are people who have been advocating for Black people for their whole careers. He turned on Jeremiah Wright. So, when Trump was in office, we lost, to me, an opportunity that I don't see now, but we have to look for other opportunities. So we just wanted to keep that in mind. If Trump runs again, what do you got to lose? As he would say, what do you got to lose? I posted on my Facebook about this event, and one of my cousins, he's a boomer. He's probably in his late 50s or early 60s. And his comment was, and this guy is the most, I'm talking about, he's a hippie. When it was, he ran off, grew dreads, smoked bud, listened to Rastafarian music. He gave me my first joint. This was one of the most liberal, free-thinking members of the family that I had. But when I posted that, and I'm sweating my shirt out, so don't mind me. His response was, I can't see anything positive coming from this, when he read the, voting Republican to stop immigration. And I think that the elder generation is still holding the torch for the Democratic Party, but it's not the same Democratic Party of the civil rights movement. And I think that that's something that we need to constantly educate our people about, that things have changed. We can't, be nostalgic and live in the past. And as conditions change, our strategies have to change, our actions have to change, and we got to keep, 2 steps ahead. We can't be in lockstep with the times. With our condition, we need to be 2 steps ahead of the curve. Yep. So I'll leave it there, and I'll let Jeff close out with his final thoughts. And just to say, I appreciate you as well for coming through, Jeff. And don't forget to plug in your social media where they can find you at.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's one of the better ones that I've had, and I've had a billion of these by now. But I'll keep it short because I think you guys did a great job of laying everything out. But like I was saying earlier, there is a lot of apathy in America in general. And that apathy, most of it, I believe, comes from ignorance, because we don't really know what's going on. I mean, this was about immigration. We didn't even talk about what they're trying to do with our kids. in their schools and elsewhere. There are a lot of issues here. So to me, I think one of the best ways to combat that ignorance is by exposing this stuff, educating people, getting them to see what's happening. Because for a lot of people, when you educate them, that's enough right there. They're like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. How do I get involved? And then with some, there may be more persuasion involved, but the issue, the main key point here that I want to get across is that we can't just keep this stuff to ourselves. I mean, not everybody has a 1 million follower platform. You don't have to. You have friends, you have family, you got people you know on social media, maybe at work. If you're able to talk about these things, talk about them. Talk about them. Don't be afraid to bring them up, because our enemies, the elites, they thrive off of our lack of willingness to talk about these things and to do something about them, to run for office, like Marcel was saying, or to support people who are. So really what I'm saying is we need to get as involved as we can. It ain't gonna all look the same, because we're not all meant to do the exact same thing. We need different people playing different roles. Find out what your lane is and get in that lane and work that lane.
Absolutely. And that's why, I gravitated to you, because we need you. We need brothers that are Republican, brothers that are conservative, to be vocal, to be insightful. We need so many elements. We need the power of our intellect. We need the spiritual wisdom and passion, and we need direction. And I think right now, as a community, we're kind of rudderless. We don't really have anything to stand on. Everything that we stand on is not concrete. Everything is material based. We don't think about the long game. We don't think about our children, our children's children. I heard a brother named Delano Squires. He's regularly on Jason Whitlock's show. What's it called? Fearless. Fearless with Jason Whitlock. He said he's raising his grandchildren's parents. Or something like that. His great grandchildren's parents. He's thinking 2 or 3 generations down the pike. We've been in such a state of survival mode,
Yes.
that we can only think about, what are we going to do for today just to get by. But we need to start to plan for the long game, for our children, for our children's children, so that we can, pass down legacy, so that we can instill ideas, lay a solid foundation for them to operate on, in these United States of America, because we're in a very peculiar situation, in a very precarious one. They say that by the year 2052, that Black wealth would actually drop to 0.
That's a lie. We're practically there right now. Seriously, when you look at the hundreds of trillions of dollars in egregious racial wealth gap, pre-pandemic, we shared 90% of Blacks shared 700 billion. We share less than that since COVID, and about 10% of Blacks, which are predominantly immigrants, share 2.93 trillion. These were numbers prior to the pandemic. So we are out of time, family. And you're absolutely right, Bill Money. When I think in terms of my advocacy, when I think in terms of the gift my God and my ancestors gave me, which was I was born to talk. When I think about the way I love Freedmen, Black and Strong, I'm using those gifts and I'm putting them to work. I've got over 300 videos from my humble beginnings in the former ADOS movement. So everybody's got to find their lane. And we absolutely have to find brothers like Jeff to reach across the aisle and work in concert with one another to deliver American freedmen. And with that being said, Jeff, I want to subscribe to your channel. Can you tell me what it is so I can go straight to ScrewTube on my phone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fresh perspective with Jeff Charles on YouTube. It's a YouTube and also on wherever you get your podcast app.
Yeah, I'm already subscribed. I think I subscribed that first
night. I'm sorry. Somebody was texting. one more time. I'm on ScrewTube. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fresh perspective with Jeff Charles.
Thank you. And you have a great radio voice.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And where are you located, Jeff?
I'm in Austin, Texas, the best city in the
crazy.
country.
The cousin that I was talking about,
Uh-huh.
the one who said he couldn't see anything positive, he lived in Austin, Texas for a long time. He said he wanted to
That
be
tracks as a hippie.
Yeah, he said he wanted to be as close to the mountains as possible. I think he said Albuquerque, somewhere down there. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
He stayed in Austin for quite a long time. I think he's in Louisiana now, but he probably has deep roots in Austin.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love the city.
But yeah, thank you all again.
Thank you
For coming through, stopping by the channel. We must collaborate again in the future. I'll try to, make a habit out of going live maybe once a week and see how it goes there, to discuss the pressing issues that are, facing the Black community, that we are faced with as the Black community. Thank you to the chat, everyone who chimed in. I appreciate your commentary, your thought-provoking questions.
It was the bomb.
Commentary to help us actually move the conversation along and inserting ideas. I really appreciate you guys. You're a very smart group of men and women, and we need you all on the front line. We need you all on the front line to be vocal, to be steadfast, and to be unafraid. So
I got people texting me. They are clowning me right now. Forgive me.
You're a rock star, so Angela. They really love you, Angela. The people.
Yeah, you're great.
The people really love you. Absolutely. So
I love you all.
Again, with that, we can go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and close out.
Yes.
You all be well. You on the West Coast, Angela, and you down on the South Coast in Austin.
Yep.
And I'm here in Atlanta.
Oh,
so
lovely.
If anybody's here in Atlanta, want to connect with me in the chat, you see my social media on the screen. I'm at Bill the Icon on Twitter, Dirty Laundry Media Inc. on Facebook, and of course, Dirty Laundry Media here on YouTube. All right. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you, Jeff and Sister Angela, for participating. I really appreciate it.
It's been wonderful. I look forward to the next time. You guys make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Angela.
That was